Jake Lawson stood on the bustling streets of Zarkin, a planet known for its vibrant markets and exotic fauna. The air buzzed with anticipation as a crowd gathered around the central square. Alien merchants hawked their wares, their voices mingling with the hum of distant spacecraft. But all eyes were on the massive, snarling creature before Jake. A Varnax, notorious for its unyielding aggression. "Easy there, big fella," Jake murmured, extending his hand slowly. His voice was calm, almost soothing. The Varnax's eyes, glowing a fierce amber, locked onto Jake's. It growled, a deep, resonant sound that vibrated through the ground. The onlookers, a mix of alien species, held their breath. Among them stood Zara, the leader of Zarkin, her expression a blend of skepticism and curiosity. Beside her, Lara, a human xenobiologist, watched intently, ready to intervene if necessary. Jake's heart pounded in his chest, but his demeanor remained unflinching. He focused on the creature's eyes, sensing its fear and confusion. "We're not so different, you and I," he whispered, inching closer. The Varnax's growl softened to a low rumble. Jake's fingers brushed its snout, and the beast stiffened momentarily before relaxing under his touch. A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. The unthinkable had happened. Jake had tamed the untamable. Zara stepped forward, her eyes narrowing. "Impressive," she said, her voice edged with disbelief. "But this is just one creature. The galaxy is filled with more dangerous beasts." Jake turned to face her, his expression earnest. "It's not about taming. It's about understanding. Every creature has a reason for its behavior. Fear, hunger, pain. They drive them just like us." Lara nodded in agreement, her eyes shining with admiration. "Jake has a unique gift, Zara. His empathy is unparalleled." Zara remained unconvinced, but the seeds of doubt in her skepticism had been sown. "Very well," she said. "There are other creatures on Zarkin that challenge our understanding. Perhaps your methods will prove their worth." The crowd began to disperse, murmuring in amazement. Jake turned to Lara, who smiled warmly. "You did it, Jake. The Varnax was the toughest one yet." Jake chuckled, a hint of relief in his voice. One down, countless more to go. As they walked through the market, the vibrant colors and eclectic scents of alien goods surrounded them. Jake couldn't help but feel a sense of accomplishment, but he knew this was just the beginning. His journey across the galaxy was only starting, and each new planet brought its own challenges and mysteries. Later that evening, in a quiet corner of Zarkin's capital, Jake received a transmission on his holocom. The face of Dr. Calgan, a respected xenobiologist, appeared. His stern expression was a stark contrast to the festive atmosphere of the market. "Jake Lawson," Dr. Calgan began, his voice heavy with skepticism. "Your methods are unproven. I fear you might be putting lives at risk." Jake met the doctor's gaze, unwavering. "I don't tame creatures to prove anything, doctor. I do it because I understand them. And sometimes that's all it takes." The transmission ended, leaving Jake in contemplation. He knew earning the trust of the galaxy's scientific community would be as challenging as taming its fiercest creatures. But he was ready for the journey ahead, driven by a desire to bridge the gap between humans and the alien beings that shared their universe. As night fell on Zarkin, Jake looked out over the city, the lights twinkling like stars. He felt a deep connection to the creatures he sought to understand, and an unyielding determination to prove that empathy and understanding could conquer even the greatest fears. Tomorrow he would face new challenges. But tonight, he had earned a moment of peace, knowing that his journey, though fraught with danger and doubt, was guided by a simple truth. Every creature, no matter how fearsome, just wanted to be understood. Jake Lawson stood by the sleek, metallic doorway of his spacecraft, the silver dawn, watching as the dense, bioluminescent jungles of Xylora came into view. The vibrant greens and blues of the planet's foliage glowed softly in the twilight, casting an otherworldly light across the landscape. Lara adjusted her holopad, the blue light reflecting off her focused face. "Jake, the local leaders are expecting us," she said, her voice a blend of excitement and concern. The Shrex has been wreaking havoc on their settlements. Jake nodded, his expression serious. Let's not keep them waiting. They descended the ramp, their boots crunching on the soft, mossy ground. The air was thick with humidity, carrying the scent of exotic flora and the distant sounds of alien wildlife. As they approached the meeting point, a group of Xyloran officials awaited them, their eyes filled with a mix of hope and desperation. "Welcome, Jake Lawson," said Varek, the leader of the Xyloran Council. His antennae twitched nervously. "We've heard of your abilities. We pray you can help us with the Shrex." Jake extended his hand in greeting. "I'll do my best, Varek. Tell me more about this creature." Varek gestured towards the dense jungle. "The Shrex is a fearsome predator. It's unpredictable, attacking without warning. Our defenses have been ineffective." As Varek spoke, the ground trembled slightly, and a distant roar echoed through the trees. The Xylorans flinched, their fear palpable. "We don't have much time," Jake said, his voice steady. "Lara, let's gather what we need." They moved swiftly, preparing their equipment. Lara's holopad beeped with data on the Shrex, detailing its size, behavior, and previous encounters. Jake read the information carefully, formulating a plan. "We need to find its lair," Jake said, his tone decisive. "If we understand its territory, we can approach it without provoking aggression." Varek provided a map, highlighting the areas where the Shrex had been sighted. As they ventured deeper into the jungle, the bioluminescent plants cast an eerie glow, illuminating their path. The tension in the air was thick, each step bringing them closer to the unknown. Suddenly, a low growl resonated through the trees. Jake held up his hand, signaling for silence. They had reached the Shreks's territory. The creature emerged from the shadows, its scales shimmering with bioluminescent patterns, its eyes fierce and wild. Jake stepped forward, his hand outstretched. "We mean you no harm," he said softly, his voice calm and steady. The Shrex snarled, its massive form coiled with tension. Lara watched anxiously, her fingers hovering over her holopad, ready to record every moment. Jake focused on the creature's eyes, sensing its fear and confusion. "You're just protecting your home," he murmured. "We understand." The Shrex hesitated, its growl softening. Jake inched closer, his movements slow and deliberate. The creature sniffed the air, its curiosity piqued by Jake's calm demeanor. Minutes felt like hours as Jake continued to speak softly, his voice a soothing presence. Finally, the Shrex lowered its head, allowing Jake to touch its snout. The tension in the air dissipated, replaced by a quiet understanding. The Xyloran officials, who had watched the encounter from a safe distance, approached cautiously. Varek's eyes were wide with amazement. "You did it, Jake. You've tamed the Shrex." Jake shook his head, a smile tugging at his lips. "Not tamed. Understood. There's a difference." As they made their way back to the settlement, the Xylorans began to see Jake not just as a tamer of beasts, but as a bridge between species. The jungle, once a place of fear, now felt like a realm of possibilities. Back at the Silver Dawn, Jake received another transmission from Dr. Calgan. The doctor's face was stern, but there was a hint of respect in his eyes. "Your methods are unconventional, Lawson, but perhaps there's more to them than I first believed." Jake nodded, his expression resolute. "There's still much to learn, Doctor, and I intend to prove that understanding is the key to coexisting with these incredible creatures." As the Silver Dawn prepared to depart, Jake looked out at the bioluminescent jungle one last time. His journey was far from over, but with each challenge, he felt more certain of his path. The galaxy was vast and filled with wonders, and Jake Lawson was determined to uncover them all, one creature at a time. Jake Lawson gazed out of the Silver Dawn's viewport as the ship approached the stormy planet of Gorgular. Dark clouds swirled across the atmosphere, occasionally lit by flashes of violet lightning. The planet's turbulent weather was a fitting backdrop for Jake's most formidable challenge yet, a colossal predator known as the Therax. "Gorgular's council has been desperate for help," Lara said, her voice tinged with concern. The Therax has been causing widespread devastation. No one's been able to approach it without getting attacked. Jake tightened his grip on the controls, determination etched on his face. We'll find a way, Lara. We have to. As the silver dawn descended through the thick clouds, the landscape below came into view. Jagged mountains and dense forests stretched as far as the eye could see, punctuated by the occasional flash of the Therax's destruction. The ship landed in a clearing, where a group of Gorgolorian officials awaited them. The leader of the council, a tall, imposing figure named Delon, approached Jake. "Thank you for coming," he said, his deep voice resonating with a mix of hope and desperation. "The Therax has laid waste to our villages. We can't sustain this much longer." Jake nodded. "We'll do everything we can. Show us where it was last seen." Delon led them through the dense forest, the air thick with the scent of damp earth and vegetation. The sounds of the jungle chirps, rustles, and distant roars created an unsettling symphony. As they neared the Therax's territory, the ground shook with each of the creature's thunderous steps. "There," Delon whispered, pointing to a massive shape moving through the trees. The Therax was a sight to behold. Its scales shimmered with iridescent hues, its eyes burning with primal fury. It towered over the trees, each movement a display of raw power. Jake took a deep breath, stepping forward with deliberate calm. "Stay back," he instructed the others. "This is something I need to do alone." Lara's eyes were filled with concern, but she nodded, trusting Jake's instincts. "Be careful, Jake." As he approached the Therax, Jake could feel the creature's rage and pain emanating like a palpable force. He reached out with his mind, trying to connect with the beast on a deeper level. "I understand you're in pain," he said softly. "We're not here to hurt you." The Therax snarled, its massive head swinging toward Jake. For a moment, it seemed poised to strike, but Jake held his ground, radiating calm and empathy. "You're not alone," he continued, his voice unwavering. "We can help you." Slowly, the Therax's aggressive posture softened. It lowered its head, eyes locking onto Jake's with a mixture of confusion and curiosity. Jake extended his hand, his heart pounding. The creature sniffed cautiously before nudging his hand with surprising gentleness. A collective sigh of relief escaped the onlookers. Delon stepped forward, awestruck. "You've done it. I don't know how, but you've done it." Jake turned to him, a faint smile playing on his lips. Understanding and compassion can bridge even the widest gaps. As they led the Therax to a safer area, where it could be treated for its injuries, the Gorgolorians' respect for Jake grew. They saw him not just as a tamer of beasts but as a healer of hearts, capable of bringing harmony to even the most chaotic situations. Back on the Silver Dawn, Jake received another transmission. Dr. Calgan's face appeared, a mixture of skepticism and admiration. "Your methods continue to surprise me, Lawson. Perhaps there's more merit to your approach than I initially believed." Jake smiled, a glint of determination in his eyes. "There's still much to learn, Doctor, and I'm just getting started." As the Silver Dawn lifted off, leaving the stormy skies of Gorgolor behind, Jake felt a renewed sense of purpose. The galaxy was filled with challenges, but with each new encounter, he was proving that empathy and understanding were the keys to coexistence. And he was ready for whatever came next. The Silver Dawn soared through the void of space, heading toward Xantha, a planet enveloped in legend and peril. Jake Lawson stood at the ship's helm, his gaze fixed on the swirling red storms below. The Xanthians had sent out a desperate plea for help. An ancient predator, the Gorlax, was wreaking havoc on their cities. This would be his greatest challenge yet. "We're approaching Xantha," Lara said, her voice steady despite the looming danger. She glanced at Jake, her eyes filled with both worry and admiration. "Are you ready for this?" Jake took a deep breath, nodding. "We have no choice. The Gorlax needs to be understood, not feared." The Silver Dawn landed amidst the chaotic ruins of Xantha's capital. The air was thick with tension, the acrid smell of destruction lingering. Alien architecture lay in rubble, and the inhabitants' expressions bore the weight of despair. Jake and Lara stepped out, greeted by Xanthian leaders, their desperation palpable. "Jake Lawson," said Rallos, the head of the council, his voice quivering. "The Gorlax is unlike anything we've faced. It's driven by rage unstoppable. We need your help." Jake's eyes were resolute. "I'll do everything I can. Show me where it was last seen." They were led through the shattered streets, the echoes of devastation haunting every step. As they approached the Gorlax's lair, a massive crater on the city's edge, the ground shook violently. The Gorlax emerged, its scales shimmering darkly, eyes blazing with fury. Jake signaled for the others to stay back. "Lara, keep them safe. This is between me and the Gorlax." Lara nodded, her faith unwavering. "Be careful, Jake." Jake advanced slowly, his heart pounding. The Gorlax roared, its breath hot and menacing. Jake held his ground, extending his hand in a gesture of peace. "You're in pain," he said softly, his voice barely audible over the creature's growls. "I'm here to help." The Gorlax snarled, baring its teeth, but Jake's calm presence seemed to reach through its rage. "We're not enemies," Jake continued, his tone gentle but firm. "You're misunderstood, like so many others." Time seemed to stretch as Jake stood before the beast, his empathy radiating. The Gorlax's fury slowly ebbed, replaced by a deep, aching sorrow. It lowered its head, allowing Jake to touch its rough skin. The city watched in stunned silence, the impossible unfolding before their eyes. Rallos stepped forward, his voice trembling with awe. "You've done it, Jake. You've calmed the Gorlax." Jake turned to him, his expression weary but triumphant. "It wasn't just calming it. It was understanding its pain, its fear. That's what made the difference." As they guided the Gorlax to a safe sanctuary, the Xanthians' gratitude was overwhelming. They saw Jake not merely as a hero, but as a beacon of hope, proving that even the fiercest adversaries could be reached through empathy. Back on the Silver Dawn, Jake received another transmission from Dr. Calgan. The doctor's face appeared, a mixture of respect and realization. "Jake, your approach has shown us a new path. You've achieved what we thought impossible." Jake smiled, a sense of fulfillment washing over him. "It's just the beginning, Doctor. There's so much more we can learn." As the Silver Dawn lifted off from Xantha, leaving the planet's storms behind, Jake felt a profound sense of purpose. Each challenge, each creature, had taught him the power of understanding and compassion. His journey across the galaxy was far from over, but he was ready for whatever lay ahead.